Have you given thought to why God chose and called Abraham? What really did the blessing upon him mean? What was the significance of his being separated from his people? Let's find this out in this next in our Sequenced History of Christianity series, which seeks to dig into the marrow of entire Bible history right from Genesis. Be sure not to miss any of our videos in the various series arranged into playlists. As we highlighted in previous videos, Abraham was from the line of Shem. He was of Eber, the father of the Hebrews. His ancestors had generally worshipped the true God and preserved the knowledge of the true worship upon the earth. But the influence of heathenism around them had been so subtle and strong that even his father's family had begun to mingle the worship of the true God and that of other gods. Faithful among the faithless, Abraham the Hebrew stood firm and steadfast as the sturdy oak of Bashan that stands defiantly against the tempest and the winds. The knowledge of God was not going to be wiped off the face of the earth, and as always, God was going to cooperate with that single soul who would not bend to the popular tides around him. The preservation of the pure faith has normally been because of the unbending fidelity of a few good men, no thanks to the opposition of the multitudes and the cowardice and treason of the time-serving professors of religion. It's also instructive to note that Abraham was extracted from the right religious system, though already beginning to experience internal corruption. History has repeated the intriguing pattern that religious movements normally begin with the fiery zeal and pure faith of the founders and tend to decay in the hands of the latter generations. Then God calls out a people out of the decaying system, places a new spark upon them, and seals them with His Spirit to continue the work that is otherwise in disrepair. This pattern occurred in the antediluvian world with the call of Noah. It happened after the flood with the call of Abraham, then Isaac, and then Jacob. It happened when the Jewish church had fully abused their privileges and lost their connection to God at the inauguration of the Christian church at Pentecost. Take note that the Christian church grew out of the Jewish church. It didn't emerge from one of the pagan nations. The pattern later repeated itself in the Protestant Reformation and will again happen at the end of time when God is going to set apart a people that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. That is according to Revelation chapter 14 verse 12. The call of Abraham found in Genesis chapter 12 is documented in these words. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house, and to a land that I will shew thee, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abraham departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the sons that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. That is Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 to 5. The call had first to do with separation. He needed to be cut out for mission. Experience teaches that the higher you go in any field, whether intellectual or spiritual, the lonelier it becomes. And God will help the Christian to separate from dangerous interactions with persons whose minds are cast into an inferior mold. Persons whom it will be impossible to please except by displeasing God. The Bible says, You shall not follow a multitude. Yes, to do evil. That is Exodus chapter 23 verse 2. Especially are our former friends, associates, and family members a real hindrance when it comes to a higher calling. It is why Christ said that a man's enemies shall be the people of their own household. What makes the matter more delicate is that we have sacred obligations towards family members, even if none believing. And they also feel under obligation to know and even control pertinent decisions that we make, even if they themselves work at cross purposes with God. It is why God decided that Abraham should love his partly idolatrous family from a distance, and that should be instructive. The instruction to move was not decorated with many explanations, and it simply took obedient faith for Abraham to follow God for whom he is. Unquestioning obedience to God is the truest manifestation of faith in the experience of every Christian. It's the means by which we are purified and enabled to reflect the image of God. The reason why there are many professed Christians today who have a form of godliness but lack the power thereof is because there are many professed Christians who accept the form but reject the power. Read 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 5. People love to exalt the Christian privileges which come through faith, but reject the Christian obligations which come through obedience. True faith manifests its life through self-surrender and obedience to the will of God. We trust Him well enough to obey Him, even on the things that we do not fully understand. That is faith revealing itself in good works. Obedience is submission to and a trust of a high authority revealed in words. It's the true and sublime fruit of faith. Spiritually, it is accepting the mind and lifestyle of God and making it our own unquestioningly. His laws are a description of His lifestyle. It is why Christ said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." You cannot claim to love Him yet hate His lifestyle. But what did it really mean when God told Abraham that He would bless him and make him a blessing to all nations? While it is true that He was promised some temporal prosperity, which is normally the natural fruit of living in harmony with the principles of God's wisdom, it's clear from the text that this was not Abraham's greatest blessing. He was in fact a pilgrim in the land promised him. He didn't own it save for a burial ground. His greatest blessing was that he was going to be the father of the seed of the woman, promised in Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. It was the blessing by which he was going to be a blessing to all nations. God's intention in the call and setting apart of the Hebrew nation was so that the knowledge of Himself may be preserved upon the earth and that all nations may draw from this stream running through the lineage of Eber. Get it right. In spite of the rebellious will of man, God's intention has always been that all men should be saved. Refer to 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 4. When He separates a man unto Himself, it is so that the man may be saved from the contaminating influences of sin in order to retain a saving influence upon the ungodly. The blessing promised Abraham was akin to that for which Jacob strove when he said, "I will not let you go except you bless me." It was the blessing of having Christ within, the hope of all glory, and of being heir of the promise. He was not only going to preserve the knowledge of God upon the earth, but Christ was going also to be born from His lineage. In Him, all the families of the earth were going to be blessed. Though the Hebrew nation proved to be very exclusive and defective, as all the generations of the churches upon the earth have proven to be, they still remained to be God's church in the Old Testament, and the means by which He preserved the knowledge of Himself upon the earth. This is a quiet warning to those who would tear down God's church and the various sacred ordinances by which He has chosen to preserve His oracles upon this benighted land, just because of the defects of men. Evil and disorderly men will remain in the church and even form the majority of its membership, but God still makes His church the pillar and ground of the truth. Refer to 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 15, in spite of the tares among the wheat. When Abraham left Haran, he did not only live with his immediate family, but also with the other souls that they had gotten in Haran. These numerous souls, some of whom were heads of families, did not only follow Abraham to be part of his workforce, but chose to be with him to share in his worship of the true God. The choice they made was akin to that made by Ruth when she said to Naomi, "Your God shall be my God." These were the first fruits of the blessings promised to all the families of the earth through Abraham. Thanks for watching. If you found this video to be useful, please consider heeding to the still small voice and yielding your life to God's hands. It will also be a good idea to systematically follow through all the videos in this series for a complete picture. If you choose to subscribe and share the videos, It will have helped this ministry and blessed others. And the good news is that you'll be able to do both entirely for free.